What's good, NBA family? Today's Saturday, April 13th, and we are here in the last week of the NBA regular season. So, you know what that means, man. That means that we got the NBA award show. And I knew for an NBA award show, I'd have to bring on a very intelligent person, one of the homies, man. He's been on the show many times. I could run down the list, man. YouTuber, podcaster. He do a little bit of everything, man. My guy, Garrett, Super Mario Hoops 24. My dog, how you doing?
Yes, sir. Glad to be on. It's always a blast to be on, the Clutch Talk pod. So it should be exciting.
Yes, sir, man. Yes, sir. For the family, man, this episode is pretty, straightforward, man. We got NBA awards. We're gonna be getting into all your favorite awards from most improved, six man, defensive player of the year, coach of the year, of course, MVP. So stay tuned for MVP because not gonna lie, y'all might be surprised at my MVP pick. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, man. For the family out there. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and make sure to check out my boy Garrett's work. I'm gonna link everything in the description down below. But let's get into it. We're gonna go ahead and start with most improved player of the year. But before I even get your pick, Garrett, I need to ask you something before we even get into it because I feel like we got to clear some bases, set some ground. I wouldn't say ground rules, but just talk about some things based
Go
on
right
this
ahead.
award. So my question to you, Garrett, is
Hmm.
do you when you are looking at a most improved player of the year, are you looking at it from the lens of like this guy has gone from a bad player to a good player, or this guy has gone from a good player to a star? Like, what is the most improved to you before you give me your pick?
I mean, I feel like no matter what it is between both of those, I feel like both should qualify mostly with that. I think the biggest question with the most improved player is that is this player improving because there's no other choice, or are they improving because they actually got better? You know what I mean? I think sometimes and granted, I hit the nail of many years back because before the season even started, I think it was 2016. I had a prediction. I was like, CJ McCollum's going to win most improved player because he was averaging like 4 or 5 points a game. They literally got rid of all their starters, their sixth man, and their seventh man. So at that point, it's like, well, who's going to help Damian Lillard, And that's when CJ really broke out, and he's averaged 20 points a game like every season. So that was kind of like more so a prediction where it's like, while maybe his play production in those limited minutes wasn't quite as different as what he was doing just on a higher volume, he was going to win most improved player because his scoring jumped up so much. So I think when we look at the most improved player, it kind of depends on someone could jump up 10, 12 points a game, but are they jumping up because maybe the guy that was in their place got injured or got traded or something, or are they actually jumping up because maybe their efficiency is better, or maybe they had to take on an actual bigger role because something was lost and it's maybe led them to a more successful turnaround as well. If I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess
I guess kind of both. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's a little bit of both, right? I mean,
I
that's what
guess
I
for
got from that.
for the most part, it usually does go to a player though that took a jump to become a star, if that
Okay.
does answer your question.
Okay.
But I personally do I'm not gonna leave out players that maybe if they were averaging 4 points a game and they were shooting 36% from the field, but if the
Mhm.
next year they're shooting 48% from the field, averaging 13 points a game, then hey, I mean they got to be in the consideration. It might not be a smooth pick, but
Okay. Okay. Well, so with that being said, who is your most improved player of the year for 2024?
So obviously there was a stretch throughout the year where Kobe White was absolutely cooking, and
Hmm.
obviously as a Bulls fan, I was thinking hey, he's gonna win Most Improved Player, we're gonna have a good year, kind of. Well, maybe not. I didn't say that, but I said Kobe White's gonna have a good year.
Yeah.
And now he kind of slowed down though a little bit. He's still been good, and he's still obviously gonna get a lot of votes for this award. But I feel like throughout the whole year, there's really been one obvious answer, and it's Tyrese Maxey. Especially near the end of the year, I mean, obviously Embiid's back now, but over that stretch of games where he was out, it's there were games they played Cleveland. I think they played Milwaukee, and like they played other like teams that were playoff level teams that they needed to beat in order to be where they are right now. If they weren't beating those teams, they'd probably be down where my Bulls are and where Atlanta is right now. So like he basically helped keep them afloat. And I think like as of the time we're recording this right now, they're tied for they're seventh, but they're tied for fifth. Right. So
Mhm.
like
Okay.
I think it's Tyrese Maxey. If maybe there's a lot of people you could argue like it's
It
not
really
maybe a
is.
clear cut one, but I think like he has probably maybe seen like the biggest what's the word? Like the
Jump.
most recognition from the media and the fans. So I overall do think he's gonna win the award, and I think he is a deserving winner of the award too.
Okay. Okay. I know like DraftKings, like betting odds. I know he's highest up there as far as like odds of winning it. And
Mm.
Tyrese Maxey is a great option. And I mean, just like how you said, like there is I think a legitimate case for four players, which is dope because I think like all these awards have a legitimate case for like three to four players. And this one, now I did not go with Tyrese Maxey. I love the pick of Tyrese Maxey because I mean he's had 3 50-point games this season. But my biggest thing to me, brother, the reason why I did not go with Tyrese Maxey is I think he was already this good last year. I think that he already had the capability of doing all this that he was doing last year, but he had James Harden in front of him, who was extremely ball dominant, and James Harden was brought in to be Joel Embiid's little sidekick partner. So I think that in that sense, like James Harden was holding him back, and I've had people on here on the Clutch Talk show before, and they've said many times like they felt that James Harden was holding Tyrese back. So I'm in agreement with that. I think that like Tyrese had the capability of doing exactly what he's doing this year, last year, but instead James Harden had the ball 50% of the time. But
Just to add
talk
the
to
one
me.
little thing before you go is that I think with Maxi as well, like obviously he was kind of playing more off the ball, like you said, but he
Mhm.
wasn't asked to be what Harden was as the playmaker. And so because now this year he's almost like really when you watch him, it feels like he's a shooting guard, but he's kind of had to be the point guard for the team this year. And so
Mhm.
because of that, I feel like he's kind of asserted himself into that role, something that wasn't expected. And on top of that, he's still scoring more and playing more efficient as well. So that's kind of part of the reason why I gave him the nod.
No, absolutely. No, I mean, and this isn't a knock. It's just saying, like, in my opinion, I just think that he already had this ability last year, but just had
Mm.
somebody who was ball hogging in front of him. But
I just wanted to say that though, because I didn't want to sound like hypocritical, because I was saying like if someone like maybe gets more of an opportunity, and
yeah,
it's like some people would say, well, he got more of an opportunity because Harden left, but I also think he did elevate his game on top of that
he
too.
did. He did. He 100% did elevate his game on higher efficiency and whatnot.
Mm,
But who I got for most improved player of the year is actually Jalen Williams from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'm
mm,
talking the one from Santa Clara, not the one from
mhm,
Arkansas. Look, check this out, y'all. He went from a real rookie to a real life co-star for a team that's trying to contend, a team that's
mhm.
been top of the West all season long. He's their second best player. It depends how you look at it, but in my opinion, he's Shea's co-star. He is the number 2 guy on that team. He went from 14 points to 19 points per game, went from 35% from the three-point line to 42% from the three-point line on more attempts, went from 51% from the field to 53% from the field, also on more attempts. But my biggest thing is the fact that when you watch Oklahoma City Thunder, Garrett, like when Shea's not on the court, Jalen Williams is the guy. Like he is who they're running the offense through. Mark Dagnall has allowed him to initiate the offense. He has allowed him to be able to become that scorer. That honestly, I don't know if you thought or if you saw this in him last year, but I absolutely did not. I did not think that he was going to go from a rookie to a second year player, and on a second year player, he's helping the Oklahoma City Thunder stay at the top of the West, and they've been at the top of the West, bro. Offensively, in offensive rating, defensive rating, really on both ends of the ball. And honestly, to me, that jump is got to be rewarded, in my opinion. And so,
Mhm.
I want to give some honorable mentions real quick, though. Um, Jonathan Kaminga almost went with him because he also had a big jump. I mean, last year, man only had like 5 20-point games. This season, he already has like 20-point games. He looks a lot more comfortable. Also, Steve Kerr did give him a lot bigger, more of opportunity this year. He gives a lot more playing time. But in my opinion, no one beats out Jalen Williams from Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's who I got for most improved.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, obviously he did take a leap this year, but I think more so for me, like, well, the one thing I will say that I guess doesn't go in his favor is that most of the time it's pretty hard to win this award if you're like a second year player. Like, I think the
Yeah.
last one to do that was like Monte Ellis, and that was
Yeah.
2007. So, like, it's pretty hard to win it as a second year player. And that's if he were to win it, that's what he would be. I do think he improved. Definitely as a 3-point shooter. I think that's like probably the biggest biggest area where he has, and a little bit as a playmaker as well. But I think they both took the same step forward. It's just that Maxey maybe is taking it to like higher level. But I also think if you're maybe a second year player, it's hard because every rookie season can be like so different, like you just might not get an opportunity because like you're just thrust onto a team. Like I think Scoot Henderson's a good example because you look at how many people are on Portland right now at that position, and it's like, well, he hasn't looked like a great rookie, but if he comes out next year and he's like balling like crazy, if they like traded a bunch of them or something like that, then I don't know, like he probably will look a lot better. But is that more so about his game improving, or is it more so about like he's just maybe getting more of an opportunity than he was the year before as well? And it's a
But
it's a little bit of both, but
but I guess devil's advocate combat it, however you want to look at it. Like in my opinion, I think that Jalen Williams, he's had the same opportunity from this year to last year, but now he's just performed better in that opportunity versus Tyrese Maxey. I think he's gotten more of an opportunity because now James Harden is not there. Now, who does the ball fall to? The ball now falls in Tyrese Maxey's hand, which is that opportunity. So I guess that's that. But honestly, at the end of the day, like I don't think that like I don't think Jonathan Kuminga could like if Jonathan Kuminga wins, I won't bat an eye. If Jalen Williams win, I won't bat an eye. If Tyrese Maxey win, I won't bat an eye. Like I wouldn't be surprised. I think
Kobe
all
White.
three of these guys, yeah, Kobe White, to give your Bulls some credit, earlier in the season, I did have Kobe White, but I just think that the jump of Jalen Williams was like the efficiency wise, and then still like helping a team contend or be at the top of the West
Mm.
is big for me. But I feel you though, man. And for the family out there, man, y'all let us know in the comment section down below, like who do you got? Like do you got Jalen Williams, you got Maxey, do you got Kuminga, do you got somebody that we didn't even mention?
Jalen Johnson is another good one.
Jalen Johnson, yeah, from the Hawks, right?
Mm.
Yep, from the Hawks. He took a big jump. Absolutely. They've been all stepping up. But let's go ahead and keep it pushing, and let's get to the sixth man of the year. This is a really good award. I think that this was one it's a 3-man race, in my opinion. It's between Bobby Portis, Malik Monk, and Naz Reid. And as of right now, Malik Monk is averaging the most points of all three at 15 points per game, even though he's out for the rest of the season. Naz Reid is at 13.4. Bobby Portis is at 13.9. But to me, Garrett, the only right answer is Naz Reid. I mean, if we're taking both ends into account, he's the best. He's the best player of all three right now, averaging 13 points per game, 5 rebounds, 0.9 blocks per game on 47% from the field and 41% from the 3-point line. Like, honestly, Garrett, Naz Reid shouldn't even be a bench player. He only happens to be on the Timberwolves to where they have 2 great bigs, and he has to come off the bench. I mean, now that Karl-Anthony Towns went out, he stepped up. He's been great in the absence of Karl-Anthony Towns. And honestly, you could argue that against certain teams and against certain matchups, Naz Reid is the better big to be out there versus Cat, to be honest with you. I mean, we're talking about a 6'9" big who can stretch the floor. I said 41% from the 3-point line. And to me, the biggest reason why he has to win this 6th man of the year is because he embodies exactly what a 6th man of the year is supposed to be. He brings the energy off the bench, and he's also a different type of player compared to Cat, and a different type of player compared to Rudy, so that when he comes in the game, he forces a defense to adjust to him, and they got to play a whole different way because you can't guard him the same way you're going to guard Rudy Gobert. You can't guard him the same way you guard Karl Anthony Towns. So to me, my sixth man of the year is none other than Naz Reid. Who you got?
Yeah, I think that's a valid pick, especially because like a lot of times they'll often give it a player that comes on a pretty good team, of course. Like six man of the year, it's not like an MVP or anything, but more times than not, it's on a team that's in the playoffs or at least pretty good. And it makes it hard because there's a lot of teams in the West like that. Um, but because of that, still think Malik Monk should be the sixth man of the year. Um,
Okay.
I mean, as good as Nas Reed is, and as good as like Bobby Portis is, or even like someone like Norman Powell, like let's face it, Malik Monk is really the second option on this Kings team. Like, don't get me wrong, because Sabonis is the second leading scorer, and you look at that. But if De'Aaron Fox doesn't have the ball in his hands, you want the ball in Malik Monk's hands, right? You would want the ball in his hands more than Sabonis if you need to get a basket, if you need to create a play. And I don't think there's anyone that comes off the bench that can really say like, hey, if our primary like playmaker scoring option isn't here, like then it's on me to get the job done. And I know he's missed a couple games lately, but I mean that should also be an indicator because when he was out, like when he first went out, they were the sixth seed, and he's played 72 games, so he would qualify anyways. Since then, they've fallen to right now they're tied with 10th, and they've been 3-6 in the games he hasn't played this year. So I think that he has a huge part in this team. So because of that, I mean, like you said, he's the leading scorer of all of them. And I think more times than not, it does go to a guy who's like one of the leading scorers off the bench. Like at least historically, it's usually like a top three scorer off the bench. So I just think that he has to carry a lot of weight on his shoulders. And you're seeing it right now with the Kings because like they're losing games they really probably shouldn't lose or like that they have. And like part of it too, like I'll say this, obviously the Aaron Fox is the reigning clutch player of the year, but he hasn't been Mr. Clutch this year. He hasn't.
Mhm.
Like
He
and
hasn't.
and I'm even shocked that they have him like fifth on the like running for that right now. And I know we'll get into that, but like I just think I would say Malik Monk's been their most clutch player. And with him out, you're seeing them blow more games. Like they've been pretty horrible in the clutch this year. And a big reason why is because either Malik Monk's not in late in games, and most notably in these 9 games that he's missed, and a lot of them like right now.
Okay. So I do agree with the point of like that now Malik Monk's been out, the Kings have took have took it like a downfall. But then you could say the same thing about Nas Reed though, because now Karl Anthony Towns went out, Nas Reed came in, and they have remained at the top. There have been no drop off. So I mean, honestly, another one. Honestly, all of these awards, bro, like
I think it's more
you
so
could
like
go
the
anywhere.
opposite like argument though. But yeah, I mean, I see what you mean because like
I
one of the
mean,
guys like went out and then no one could do what he did. Another guy, it's like he's filling in where someone else went out. But granted, if he's also filling in for Towns, it's like that's like him. If he was starting in some of those games as well, right? I think he started a couple of those games.
he's only been starting in the games that Carl Towns hasn't been there. So
Right.
and he's filled those shoes and filled it to like higher than we even expected. So I feel like, in my opinion, like that should be even more credit to him. It's like, look, yo, like this guy is supposed to be the sixth man of the year, or this guy is supposed to be our sixth man, and come when asked to steps up, he steps up, and there really is no downfall. Like this team doesn't lose any more games. They continue to be dominant. And I mean, also another thing that I want to talk about is, you mentioned that, historically six man of the year has always gone to just who's scoring the most, but I'm taking everything into account. And when you take all into account, like when you take both ends, I'm talking offensive end, defensive end, rebounding, everything, efficiency. I think then like the answer has to be pointed to Nas Reed because he's impacting both ends. But I will agree with you on the fact of like that that aside from De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk is probably the Kings' second best, second, I wouldn't say second best player, second go-to player, to be honest with you. So I can I could get with that, man. I could get with that. But I'm not budging on Nas Reed, man. I'm standing on business, man. Nas Reed. All right, brother. Well, let's keep it pushing here and let's get to our next award, which is Coach of the Year. I went first for Sixth Man of the Year, so I want you to go first for Coach of the Year. Who you got?
So Coach of the Year was kind of tough, and shout out, we're both friends with Reek Knows Hoops, because I just had a conversation with him the other day talking about like, the Celtics are like way above everybody else. It's like you would think
Yeah.
he like Joe Mazzulla like has to get Coach of the Year, right? And I feel like most coaches in his situation would, but for some reason he probably won't. And part of that is like they've also thrown games that maybe they should have won and stuff like that. But overall, I didn't end up picking him. Who I think is going to win the award is the coach on the other side, currently coaching the number 1 seed, and that's Mark Daignault and the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, like no one. Well, I shouldn't say nobody. I did expect them to be a good team. I don't know about you. Probably did at
I
least.
expected them to be a good. I'll say that I expected them to be a good team, but not number 1 seed. I'll be real.
Yeah,
Not
like I
expecting number
even
1 seed.
said, like I think like I was thinking in my head before the season, I'm like, we've seen Denver jump up like this from just outside the playoffs to a top 2 seed. We saw Memphis do it. The Kings kind of did it like last year. I'm like, they're gonna be a top 3 seed, right? Now I thought they would probably be 3. I didn't think
Mhm.
they'd be 1, but I thought that they would be a top 3 seed. So considering that, like a lot of people, I guess, didn't really have them there. So the expectations they've definitely exceeded. Like a lot of people didn't even think they make the playoffs again, which I felt like was kind of crazy because it's
That's
like this is
crazy.
a young team getting better,
No, that's
and
crazy.
they were the closest team to making it in the West that didn't make it the year before. So I don't know. I have to give it to Mark Daignault.
And I can't
And
argue with you.
and he was like as much as like and another one of our guys, Jelson and stuff, like as much as he likes the
Uh,
Timberwolves and Chris Finch, like Mark Daignault got robbed of being
got
the
robbed.
All-Star game coach because they came up with a whole different criteria for what decided the tiebreaker. And by the time of the All-Star game, the Thunder were the 1 seed
Come
anyway.
on, man. Come on,
So
man.
and
Look,
they made up a whole criteria just for him. It felt stupid, but continue.
look. I also was thinking of having Joe Mazzulla. I also thought about having Jamal Mosley from the Orlando Magic. Great coach. He has been doing
Mm,
a phenomenal job this year. I want to give him some love. But
mm,
the only right answer is Mark Daignault, like how you said. Oklahoma
mm.
City Thunder, they have been top 5 on both ends this year. They have been top 5 offensively and defensively. And guess what, bro? 41% of their minutes they're getting from rookies or second year players. If that does not define good coaching, I don't know what does, to be honest with you. Oklahoma City Thunder is the only 50-win team in the NBA right now without 2 players at least scoring 20 points per game or more. Like
Jeez.
that, if that does not define what a great coach is, again, I don't know what does. And check this out. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder. I knew that they were gonna be this good offensively. And as a matter of fact, shout out our Kia 3 days, because on our Kia 3 days, um, I said last year Shea should have started over Curry at the All-Star game, and watch, Shea's just gonna take this huge jump. And I got a lot of hate for that, but
Mm.
I'm happy because Shea's backed me up amazingly and made me look like an absolute genius. But what I want to talk about is their defense, because this
Mm.
team is incredibly young, and young teams usually are not very good on defense. Okay, so this team right now, as like I said, has been top 5 all season long defensively, and their average age is 23 years old in 8 months. I'm gonna give you some context here, and for the people out there, here's some context so you guys understand what I'm getting at here. The Spurs, they have the youngest team in the league right now at 23 years old and 4 months. And then it's Oklahoma City Thunder with the second youngest team. And then it's the Blazers at 24. And then it's the Magic also at 24. If you can notice a trend in what I just said, look at the Spurs. They're a really young team. Terrible defensively, terrible offensively. Okay. So there you have it. Oklahoma City Thunder, second youngest team in the league, number one seed right now. Oklahoma City Thunder, second youngest team in the league, have been top 5 in both offensive rating and defensive rating all season long. The third youngest team, it's the Blazers. Psh, we know they've been bottom of the league all season long. And then the fourth youngest team is the Orlando Magic, which is Jamal Mosley's team. So I just wanted to give some context for that, and that's the reason why I have Mark Daigneault as the coach of the year. I mean, like I said, and what I think is most impressive, bro, is the fact that they're the only team with 50 wins without having two players averaging 20 points or more. And to me it's that right there. It just shows, the impact that the coach is having. And then also another thing is, like, coaching is not always X's and O's. Like, coaching a lot of the time is just being able to connect with your players, be able to connect with your players on a personal level, be able to get these young players to buy in, because a lot of the times these young guys, they're coming out of college, they're coming out of the overseas G League, whatever, and they've been that guy their whole life. They're not ready to buy in. It takes them a couple of years of getting humbled, and then they start to buy into schemes and what the coaches are doing. But no, he's got these young guys to buy in, being the second youngest team in the league, bro. No question, he's the coach of the year.
It's so unfortunate because, well, and like I said, I agree that he should be the coach of the year, but it's unfortunate because, like, I feel like every year there's a couple coaches that it's like we never really, like, it's hard to know who really is the better coach because it can all be separated by, like, just how one or two games go differently. You know what I mean? Like we said, like, no one, like, as much as no one thought the Thunder would be up here, like, no one thought the Timberwolves would be up there either. And they do have the same record as the Thunder. So it's like, if someone made an argument that Chris Finch should be coach of the year, like, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to that. And it's like, it kind of stinks because it's like, well, now, like, this is the year that a lot of these teams make a jump. And then it's like, if they're this good next year, no one's even going to really consider them, like the Timberwolves are up there this high. They could win like 6 more games next year. I think that's what you're seeing with Boston because Boston's been a playoff team for like 10 years. Like, they have the longest active playoff streak. So it doesn't even matter that they're probably going to win 64 games in the season, which doesn't really happen that often. You know what I mean? So, like, and especially like for them, like a Celtics franchise that's storied, like, that would be like, I think, a top 5 regular season or so ever. Like, that says a lot about a team that has 17 championships. So the fact that they could be that good and basically their head coach isn't even getting considered is pretty insane to me, even though, like, I'm not high on Joe Mazzulla and I know a lot of people aren't, but it's just like, I guess it just shows like how many good coaches there actually are. And like, maybe at least for them, because it's so hard to know like who truly is the better coach, because just fall on the players like putting in that work too, that it's like maybe they should just make like a coaches circle of like 3 coaches or something, like, I don't know.
I like that. No, I definitely like that. Real quick about the Chris Finch and Timberwolves point. Yes, like, I'll give you the fact that we didn't expect them to be top of the West. Like, they have the same record as Oklahoma City Thunder, but they do have a lot older of a team, and they also have a better team. Like, if you look at the Oklahoma City Thunder roster and you look at the Timberwolves roster, in my opinion, I don't think that, if we're just looking on paper, like, I don't think that there's any debate that the Timberwolves have a better roster. I mean, they have Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert, who I'll get into him a little bit later. Anthony Edwards and Shea. Okay, you can cancel them out, but after that, bro, like, come on, like, bro, this was Chet's rookie year. This was Chet's rookie year, right? So, and first year, Mark Daigneault, boom, gets him to buy in. So yes, I wouldn't be surprised, if someone gave Chris Finch the nod, but over Mark Daigneault, then I'd be surprised. So that's all I wanted to add to that. But all right, brother. If you don't have anything to add for Coach of the Year, we can keep it pushing to my least favorite award. To be honest with you, they just recently instituted this award, which is the Clutch Player of the Year. Now, I do not like this award for multiple reasons. First, being that this award is very cherry picked, but this is an official award.
Won't get it.
You said LeBron won't get it?
I said the second reason because LeBron won't get
it. What? No, LeBron ain't gonna get none of these. LeBron ain't gonna get none of these, man. I mean, he already got his, man. He's just riding off into the sunset, barely beating the freaking G League Grizzlies, but
Memphis Hustle.
it was legitimately the Memphis Hustle. Quick story on that, real quick. Trey Jemison, I
Mm.
actually, when I was in Vegas, I actually saw him and met him. Like when I was leaving the hotel to go to the arena, he must have been like coming back in and staying at the same hotel. Super cool guy. But like I never thought I'd see him on an NBA roster. Yesterday, I turned the TV, I turned League Pass on, and then boom, see he's starting at the 5 position, which is just crazy. But that, and it's crazier the fact that we had our max players going toe to toe with them for the whole game. It's embarrassing. But this is not a Lakers show. What this is we're getting into the clutch player of the year, my least favorite award. But Garrett, who is your clutch player of the year?
So I feel like as much as this isn't maybe a great award, because it also is the newest one that they've added, so it's like it doesn't really feel like it has the same impact. We'll probably know how important it is, like maybe 15 years from now, like if it's actually a real award or not. But what I think is like this is it's been so weird because you look at the clutch stats, and I think the two guys that are at least near the top of the charts for totals for the season have been Curry and DeMar DeRozan.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're basically at the top of the totals, but you look at their teams and it's like, bro, the Warriors are 10th, the Bulls are ninth, and it's like, I will say at least for the Bulls, like us, we've been better at winning clutch games, so I would say DeRozan has that edge over Curry, but I didn't pick either of them to win it. And then also Tyrese Halliburton started the year off really good. It seemed like up until that in-season tournament and everything, this was his to lose. But I think he lost it because he's not my pick either. Like I just feel like the clutch player of the year, like to be clutch, you have to win and you have to be on a team that's at least somewhere up there. And so I know we were kind of just talking about them, but I feel like the only answer you can really give is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the clutch
Wow,
player of the year.
I like that. I love that nod. I'm gonna be honest with you. Um, the reason why I don't like this award is because, like I said, it's just cherry picked because it's like the Celtics, for example, like they're not in many clutch games because
And they're not clutch. Like
yeah, and they're not clutch.
they've
That that
blown
that is
20
true.
point leads to
That is
bad
true.
teams.
That is so true. Jason, their best player is absolutely probably one of the worst players in clutch time, and they're not clutch. That is true. But you understand what I'm getting at? It's like if you're
Mm,
just blowing teams out, you're not really gonna be in any clutch situations. So it's just like you're kind of automatically disqualified from the award.
mm.
But to give an answer, I honestly, Garrett, I was gonna go Curry. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I didn't go Curry because you're my guy. I had you on the show. I
I
know
already
you're
know.
I know you're a Bulls native, man.
Mm,
But it's not even just that. It's DeMar also deserves it. I mean, he's played 35 clutch games, which is most in the league right now. He has 161 clutch points. He's shooting 52% from the field in clutch time. And most impressive right here is 50% from the three-point line in clutch time, 87% from the free throw line. We know that DeMar DeRozan is not that great of a three-point shooter, but it should be shooting 50% from the three-point line in clutch time is big time. And also, they do have, I believe, the most wins in clutch time. They're
mhm.
21-14 in the clutch, which trumps
So many games.
which so many games, which
Like
so many games.
you wonder
Yes.
why I hate this team. Like
So
every
many
game, it's
games.
like, there's just so many games that like we've had like this year. It's like people can see why this team's so frustrating. It's like unfortunately, like even though I'll watch the whole game, it's like you could literally just turn on the game the last like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you'll get the real game in there, like because it's gonna be a clutch game no matter what. But like I definitely think he's had the shoulder a lot this year. I mean, he's like basically up there with the league leaders in like minutes played, especially
Yeah.
in the clutch, like you said, and he's up there like as well for like total points in the clutch, field goals made in the clutch, free throws made in the clutch. So like he's definitely a valid candidate, but I just feel like for me, like it can't be seen as clutch if your team is not succeeding to that degree.
That's
And
real.
because those teams are so much there, and I see a team like the Thunder that are up there, and I mean, Shea has had some game winners this year. He's had clutch plays all year long. I mean, I feel like you kind of have to give him the nod. And, you know, I won't. I guess I won't say that yet, but I guess I'll say something else about it when we get further into the show.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and keep it pushing and let's get to our next award, which is a clear award, in my opinion. And that is the Rookie of the Year. And let me go ahead and go first with this one. I'm going to go ahead and just say this. And I've said this hundreds of times from the beginning of the season. And I'm going to continue to say this. And there's nothing that no one can tell me of like, oh, this is his first time stepping on the court. Chet is not a freaking rookie. Chet is not a rookie. He's not a rookie, okay? This is not NBA 2K, okay? These are real life human beings who have to real life live a life outside of the court. So that means that they have to adjust to living in a new city, meeting new people, getting acquainted with the team, getting acquainted with your coach. So if someone has an entire year of an advantage versus every other rookie, because a rookie this is your first time in that city, this is your first time with those players, this is your first time with that coach. So that's what a real rookie is. But even if Chet was a real rookie, it still would be Wemby, man. This guy is putting up crazy numbers. This guy is arguably having one of the greatest rookie seasons, maybe damn near of all time, besides Wilt. But that's a whole other topic because that shit was ridiculous. That was like 37 points per game. But Wemby right now, 21 points per game, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.2 steals, leading the league in blocks at 3.6 blocks per game, shooting 46% from the field, 32% from the three-point line, 79% from the free throw line. But Garrett, we can look past it. We can look past the numbers. We can just look at just the eye test. This guy quite literally does everything on the court. There is not something that he cannot do. He's like I said, leading the league in blocks, and he's 2.1 steals per game. For people who don't know that NBA, they keep this tracking thing called stocks, which is just steals and blocks. He leads the league in that. Okay, on the offensive end, even though he's a big, and mind you, he's a 7'4" big. Okay, he has more pick and rolls as the ball handler than as the roll man. Shout out Cleaning the Glass for that. Cleaning the Glass, great website. But bro, we're talking about a 7'4" big. We're not talking about a freaking 6'4" guard. We're talking about a 7'4" big. And the majority of his pick and rolls, he's the ball handler. Are you serious? That's out of this world, bro. And it's not even to say like, oh, well, he's a bad roll man, because that's not true at all. Because he's still a great roll man on the pick and roll in that option. That I was just saying that to really show his versatility. He's also a great passer. He can shoot. He can shoot that thing from deep. He can shoot a midi. He if he gets in the paint, it's over for the opponents. You're gonna put it up here and go over you. And in my opinion, bro, he's like, I wouldn't have him for defensive player of the year, but like, you could make a case for him for a defensive player of the year, to be real, bro. Like, as far as like, I know blocks don't define everything as a defensive player of the year, but like effect on players, like, bro, I know you've been seeing that clip that's going around the internet of like of the Grizzlies on a 3-on-1 break, and Wemby's the only guy back, and he gets 3 players to hesitate. Garrett, I know you hoop, okay? I know you hoop. I hoop myself. We know that if you can just get a player to hesitate, if you can just get a player to think just twice about what they're going to do, like let's say they were going to go to the hoop, but now they see you there, and now they got to counter, now they got to go this way, now they got to go that way. That right there will be the biggest difference in a game right there. Just getting a player to hesitate, deflecting, blocks, all of that. And Wemby literally does it all. Probably one of the greatest individual rookie seasons of all time. And I don't want to hear people say, oh, well, the Spurs suck on defense. That's not his fault, because they are 10 points worse when he's off the court. So I don't want to hear Wemby is the rookie of the year.
Like, even if people said like Chet isn't or is a real rookie, like, I'm not picking him as my rookie of the year, because there's no big man who, can score, can, rebound, defend, shoot the three, space the floor, handle the ball, can play strong inside, that maybe played overseas. Like, there's no other rookie that does that than Dewap Reith.
Boy, I was waiting for a goated name to come out. That boy said Dewap Reith.
No, I wanted to say that though,
You
just for the
wilder.
memes. No, Reith is the goat though, but I mean, come on, it's literally Wemby. Wemby already has more 7+ block games in his career, and he's literally only played one season. Like you see this literally take over games. We've seen him take over games against Kevin Durant. We saw him take over uh you know, like literally everybody in the league. Like he mastered a whole comeback against the Hawks. He mastered like he beat your Lakers. You know, like I know you remember that one. So like
I
it's
do.
just he's made us struggle like with the Bulls and everything. Like he's just like probably already a top like 15 or so player in the league. It's just we don't want to say it because he's a rookie. And so next year, like it's going to be more established.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's crazy. Real quick, before we move off rookie of the year, can I get your take on what I said about Chet? Like, do you agree with me? Do you not agree? Because there's some people who swear on their life that they think Chet's a rookie. They're like, oh well, this is his first year on the court. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess I just like usually stick by the rule of that. Like, they've allowed people that when it's their first year playing, I guess they are a rookie. Like, I mean, the Ben Simmons thing, the
Yep,
Blake
the Blake
Griffin thing.
Griffin, yeah, which
So,
is
I mean,
ridiculous.
I guess I normally stick with that, and I guess it's fair game. But I mean, like, I mean, if that's the case, then like you could look back, like, okay, John Wall was robbed a rookie of the year, or Donovan
Mhm.
Mitchell was robbed a rookie of the year,
He
or
was,
like those things, like you know what I mean. So I think it just depends, but at the end of the day, I think these are like all those players that we just listed, like even including Wemby and Chet and how young they still are. Like at the end of their careers, I don't think they're going to care about losing a rookie of the year as much.
yeah, no, no,
So,
no, no, for
well,
sure. I just
maybe if Ben Simmons had lost it because his career's fallen off, so he kind of needs that. But you know, everyone else,
yeah, no, honestly, bro, I just, it just really blows my mind that people really like consider him a rookie. I guess, like, yeah, if we're going off precedent and what's been set, okay, whatever.
mm,
But you just you cannot look at me in the eye and tell me that Chet sitting on the Oklahoma City Thunder bench all his real rookie season, like long, does not like help him become a better player. Like he's been in NBA facilities, he's been training with NBA trainers, he's been getting to know his coach. Like, bro, chemistry is a real freaking thing. You mean this guy had an entire year to get to know Shea, to get to know all his players, to get to know all his guys, and then become friends with them, and then y'all can like get on the court together? This isn't even the question to me. But yes, I'm glad we're in agreement with Wimby. And honestly, this has been a really great show, Garrett. I mean, like I feel like we've agreed on some, but we've also like, not agreed on some, which is great because for the family out there that we giving y'all two different perspectives. And I hope y'all give us another different perspective in the comments for every single one of these. Y'all let us know if I'm right, if Garrett's right, if we both wrong, y'all let us know.
I think the only controversial thing is you picked Wemby and I picked Reith. It should have been Reith Bowl.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I'm gonna just scrap all that. But all right, let's keep it pushing and let's get to the defensive player of the year. Garrett,
Ooh.
who do you got?
Man, you're not gonna like it.
Uh-oh, I might.
No, because my defensive player of the year is Rudy Gobooty. Um, I mean, like you can't deny the Timberwolves. They've been like the biggest juggernaut on defense all year long, and like
Mhm.
he's been the biggest reason why. Um, but the feeling that I already get from this year as his defensive player of the year that he probably will win is that like it's the last one. You know what I mean? Like when you get that feeling where it's like, okay, like it's kind of done. Like maybe same thing with when the freaking Warriors won a few years ago, and it's like this is their last ring. Like that's kind of the feeling I get with Rudy Gobert winning Defensive Player of the Year this year. And you could make an argument for other guys as well. Obviously we mentioned Wemby. He's been in the contention, near the top of the contention pretty much all year long. But like obviously like Giannis is always in those discussions. Of course, now he got hurt. But like I just think there's not really a whole lot of competition this year as maybe like previous years because it's like even like the Bucks have been terrible on defense, so they're not really gonna put Giannis as like a real defensive player of the year threat or Brook Lopez, even though maybe they'll get like all defensive or something, so they'll be in the running, I guess. But at the same time too, it's like Jaren Jackson won it last year. The Grizzlies suck, and he's like hardly played. And then Marcus Smart's even played less, and he was the defensive player of the year before that. And then like even like a guy like Mikal Bridges was a runner up, and like he's played but every game, but like their team sucks, and like I think he's more so become more of an offensive threat. Like he's still a good defender, obviously, but he's had to maybe do more on the offensive end that it's kind of like diminished what people thought of him on the defensive end. There's just not a whole lot like of competition this year, really, other than probably like Wemby might be the biggest threat to winning it, like to for Gobert. And I think they are probably
Really?
to Gobert. He might be. I don't know. Like, but
Wow.
I think especially based on like what Wemby said, where it's like let him win this one because it's gonna be like his last chance or something. Like they probably will because I'm sure Wemby will probably end his career with at least a couple.
Yeah, Adam Silver's already got it written up. He's like, I need to make sure
He's already
Wimby
made
wins.
the scripts.
He's already made the script, man. But so check this out. Look, I and follow me throughout this whole thing, okay? So I feel like it's Anthony Davis, okay? I feel like it's Anthony Davis, but I cannot leave Rudy out of the conversation. I cannot leave Herb Jones out of this conversation. I cannot leave Bam Adebayo out of this conversation because all three of those guys, not Anthony Davis, but I mean Rudy, Herb, and Bam, have been the best player on a team that's had a top 10 defense all season long. But at the same time, for an argument for Anthony Davis, like, can you imagine how bad the Lakers defense will be without Anthony Davis? I don't know if you've got watched
Terrible.
much Lakers games this season,
Mhm.
and their defense is literally takes a dramatic dip off when he is not out there. And when he's out there, the defense is I would say like average, maybe above average at times, and that's literally all because of Anthony Davis. It's not because of any other player. We don't have a good perimeter defender. We don't have nobody that besides Anthony Davis that's good inside. Like literally, Anthony Davis has anchored the entire Lakers defense, aka keeping the Lakers season alive, or however you want to look
Mm,
at it, alive. Like as if he wouldn't be there, they'd probably be the worst team in the league, right? So I say all that to say I want to give Anthony Davis his credit. But I
mm,
do think, in my opinion, Herb is the best perimeter defender of all four of those guys. Out of AD, out of Rudy, out of Bam, uh, I think Herb is the best perimeter defender. But here's my pick: with the improvement that I see from Rudy Gobert in the perimeter, it has to go to him, bro. It has to go to him, bro. Like honestly, look, like we already knew he was it. We already knew he was this amazing rim protector. But in my opinion, what I've seen this season is the jump of him in the perimeter. Right, like he is. I'm not saying locking players up in the perimeter, but he isn't getting put on as much of an island. Like that literally was a thing. Like that was a big reason why the Jazz was just never able to succeed. It's like, all right, cool. We're gonna slow this game down, get into a half court set, bring Rudy Gobert out, island work, and he was getting demolished and the Jazz weren't going anywhere. And granted, that might happen come playoffs. I don't think it will from what I've seen so far this season, but this is a regular season award. And what I've seen regular season is he's had a lot improvement on the perimeter. Opponents are shooting 48% from the field when they're shooting inside 6 feet with him as the defender. Best in the NBA. He individually has a defensive rating of 104.1, which is top of the league. He's anchored, like how you said, he anchored a defense. He's anchored the Timberwolves defense, who's been top 3 in defensive rating all season long. The Timberwolves are currently allowing 46 opponent points in the paint, which is second in the NBA. And Rudy Gobert is anchoring that defense, anchoring the paint. The Timberwolves are number 1 in defensive rating, bro, in win shares. They have the best half court defense. And honestly, last point I'll make on Rudy is the fact that if he wins this one, he's literally gonna like make history. He's got 3 right now, and if he wins this, is gonna be his 4th. He's gonna tie for the most defensive player of the years of all time, which is guaranteeing himself a spot in the Hall of Fame if he doesn't already have one. So, in my
mm.
opinion, it's got to be Rudy.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say with that, first of all, is that while, at least throughout the regular season, like on those Jazz teams and stuff like that, like it wasn't, I guess, exploited as much because you're also playing teams that are near the bottom. You know what I mean? And maybe
Mhm.
philosophy wise, like not every good team is going to show like all their cards in the deck like at one point. So when the playoffs came around, like a lot of times that's where he kind of got exploited. So I still am a little bit nervous for that, even if maybe he's had like some bright spots throughout the regular season. But I don't think that takes away from like him winning a regular season award, like you said. But as well with Anthony Davis, like I do agree. Like I just think that the Lakers like defense as a whole this year hasn't been great. So because of that, it's not really going to be considered as much. But I mean, literally without AD, like I don't know, like there's times I'll watch like the Lakers, and especially this season because in previous years it's been like okay, like glass man, street clothes, like and every insult you could throw out to him or something. But like I don't know, I feel like at this point like Anthony Davis deserves better because like he has played almost every game this year. Like he hasn't been hurt or anything like that, but it's flown so much under the radar because of obviously where the Lakers are. And it's like I feel like everyone's to blame. Like you said, like there's really no defenders on that team. Like the guard play isn't great. And then like there's really like outside of him, like who's really holding down the fort on the interior? You know what I mean? The coaching. I mean, like we already know the
God
coaching is not
damn.
there. And I know you won't like this, but I think even LeBron is to blame because there's even been games when AD's out, like we said, when they played the Spurs, when they played the Rockets, they played another really bad team and lost as well. I think it was it the Nets or something? He sat against the Nets and like you guys lost that as well. It's like there's no way that that should happen, right? And then even in some games too, like when it's been like high level games, you need to win, and then it's like LeBron's not there, he'll sit out, and maybe it's like there could also be something there, of course, but like it feels like he's just sitting out to sit out, and then they have to go play without him, like that Bucks game recently, or I think the Celtics earlier in the year. Like, so I'm not saying like it's like a big part on him, but I'm saying he's included with that as well. And I feel like if AD was on a team that was successful, he could actually be an MVP in this league.
Hell,
But
he can.
it's
Yeah.
just that I don't know if it'll happen with given where the Lakers are, unless there's like a big move, like or like unless there's like a complete shift with like the dynamic of the team. I guess
Mhm.
that's what I'm trying to say.
So I don't want to turn this into a whole Lakers spiel or whatnot, but just to get into that a little bit, I
Mm,
think the biggest person to blame is management, right? The biggest person to blame is
right.
management
Mm,
because if you look at, and I've said this so many times, if you look at the 2020 Lakers, the reason why we won is we were defensive killers. Could nobody get to the rim on us? We had Anthony Davis, we had Dwight, we had JaVale, we had Avery Bradley. We had a coach that was a defensive minded coach and defensive minded players, and I've heard interviews of players saying like that year perimeter players, if they got blown by, they would literally just they wouldn't foul, they wouldn't try to reach and foul, they would just let them go inside because they knew you weren't going to get past the air force of Anthony Davis, of Dwight, of JaVale. And like literally, Garrett, the following year, the Lakers go away from that and
yeah.
keep the only big is Anthony Davis. And ever since then, they've kept that. And very coincidence, ever since then, we freaking have not been nearly as good. So I think that the biggest blame for Anthony Davis, not getting enough help is the management. Now, yes, it's this is the way I described it, and I talk about this on my Lakers channel all the time, Lakers Corner. Y'all go check it out, man, on YouTube. Come check me out, man. But I say this all the time. It's a big old pizza, right? And the biggest slice of the pizza for the blame is management. But there's a
Mm,
slice for LeBron and him punting games. There's a slice for Darvin Ham that's pretty big, and his just inability to be a coach. Like he's not a good head coach in this league. I would say this
mm.
right here. Darvin Ham is the worst head coach in the NBA right now. I'm not saying this as a Lakers fan. I've watched every single Lakers game literally since probably like 2009, and I've seen Luke Walton, I've seen freaking Mike Brown, I've seen a lot of bad coaches in the Lakers, and there is not one that is worse than Darvin Ham. His rotations, his inability to call timeouts when the other teams are going on a run, like just everything. But what I will say is this, man. Um, the biggest chunk of that pizza, that blame pizza, has to go to management, because you need to put the players around your star players so that they can actually, have that season. And all credit to Anthony Davis for playing as many games as he's played this season. I think that it comes down to just media coverage, because I know you said that like it's kind of flown under the radar, but like, I mean, I'm tapped into everything Lakers, so like at least in the Lakers kingdom and Lakers like nation or whatever, like people are always talking about that. Oh, Anthony Davis is playing. Anthony Davis is playing. Anthony Davis is playing. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to turn that to a Lakers spiel, but just that, I mean, this is just, it's a mess for the Lakers right now.
Yeah, I was just making just the point that like I think everyone's to blame. Like I wasn't trying
Yeah,
to like I guess pin it more on one another, but probably management and coaching is where it falls the most.
yeah,
And yeah, like they even when they've tried to like go big and stuff like that, like the players they got haven't really fit. Like they got Andre Drummond, he's not like known as a defender. Like
hmm,
now, right now they have Jackson Hayes. It's like he's really inexperienced and
yeah.
isn't really great either. And then they got DeAndre Jordan like a year or two ago as well, and it's like, bro, he's washed.
He's
Like,
washed. He's
I
been
mean,
washed, boy.
like, come on. So it just not really the right fit of players.
Agreed.
So.
Agreed. All right, Garrett. What we came here to do is talk about the MVP. Okay. So,
Mhm.
who is your MVP for the 2023-2024 NBA regular season?
Well, I will say as we're approaching, the very final days, well, I guess final day we're approaching. It seems like it's been really narrowed down to three players in this running. And I think those players are Nikola Jokic, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Luka Doncic. And, I'm looking at these teams as well. And at least for the MVP, I'm like, to give you an example, in 2019, James Harden, great season, right? Started the year off sluggish though a little bit, and his team was not great. And so that hurt him in his case to win MVP, and Giannis ended up getting it. And I was a firm believer that Giannis did deserve it that year. Like I thought he was the deserving the winner because it's from game 1 to game 82. The team success is there. Like he's playing at a high level, everything of that nature. And he's having to carry maybe a load on his back as well that maybe a lot of other guys aren't asked to do. So with all that being said, um, I think that, you know, Luka has had a great year, but the first half of that year is a little bit reminiscent, not quite as bad, but a little bit reminiscent of that James Harden 2019 season. So I do have to knock him off. He is not my MVP. And so really that leaves Jokic and Shea. And it's a tough decision to make, but this is why I gave Shea the Clutch Player of the Year award as well. It's
Mhm.
partially a reason because Nikola Jokic is my MVP.
I knew it. I knew it.
I think that's a fair. That's like a fair. What would it be?
Pick.
Maybe like it might. Yeah, like a little
Yeah.
extra award or something like that. But just because like what Jokic has had to do this year. First of all, Jamal Murray's missed a lot of time again this year. Like he's had to do it without him. And how many games has whether it's Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, like they've missed a lot of games but or not a lot of games, but they've missed like not a whole lot of games. But the games that they've missed, it's been like usually one or the other playing. Look at their whole bench. Like it seems like their whole bench is a completely new unit, and Jokic just kind of had to be like the mainstay there, keeping him afloat. Like he's up there near the top of the league in double doubles. I think only behind like Sabonis or something obviously up there near the top of the league in triple doubles as well. And I think overall, like he's just playing really efficient basketball. I think it's just something you can't top from start to finish. Like they've been up there near the top. Now you could also say the same thing about like, well, SGA's been up there as well, and he's scoring a little better, and like you could maybe say like defensively and stuff like that. But I also think Jokic is an underrated defender. I think it's just that people aren't going to really give him that credit because he's a little slow, but he has great hands, I think. But the point is like the Thunder have a lot of guys, I think, that more so surround him more so than the Denver Nuggets surrounding Jokic. I think that they have better players, the Nuggets, of course, but I think that when injuries piled up, like when Jamal Murray was out, or if there were games where if Aaron Gordon didn't play or Michael Porter Jr. didn't play or KCP didn't play, whatever it might be, like then you're asking a lot of guys who maybe are in the same mold as those Thunder players, but a lot of those guys are probably further down the Thunder's bench if they're on that team. Like, let's face it. So because of that, I think Jokic is the MVP.
I love it. I love that pick. Now here's my spiel. Okay, hear me out. Okay, hear me out on my spiel, and then we can go back and forth after that. So look, to be honest, bro, like I think I say this every year, but it's like this is probably one of the most competitive MVP races I've seen in a long time. But I also said this last year, so I'm saying it this year again. But check it out. So, in my opinion, it's only a 3-man race, but I could totally understand someone arguing for a 5-man race. I mean, Giannis, second seed, second in the NBA for most points per game, leading the league in points per game. Jason Tatum, best player, best team. The Celtics have won 79% of their games when he's on the court. But
I don't know if I could argue for Tatum, but go ahead.
okay, no, I wouldn't argue for Tatum, but I'm just saying, like, if someone argued that, like, I wouldn't be like, okay, like, I wouldn't be like, no, you're wrong. Like that's what I'm
Right.
saying. I think it's a 3-man race between, like how we said, Luka, Shea, and Jokic, but I can understand an argument of a 5-man race if you include Giannis and Tatum because of what they've done. But I think, and here's what I'm going to say. I don't like being wrong. Okay. So, I think Jokic will win. I think the NBA, based on how they give the awards and based on how they pick, I think Jokic will win. But my pick for MVP is Shea. Right now, he's averaging 30 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, which is leading the league in steals, 56% from the field, which is absurd for a 6'6 player. He's shooting 36% from the 3-point line, 87% from the free throw line. And for a player like Shea, what you really have to look at is true shooting percentage. And for those out there that don't know what true shooting percentage is, it just takes field goal percentage into account, 3-point percentage into account, and free throw percentage to account. Shea is shooting 63.9 true shooting percentage, which again is just absolutely absurd. The Thunder have overall won their minutes with Shea on the court, and Shea really impacts both ends of the court, bro. I mean, he's tied for second most points in the league at 30.4. He generates so much offense, not only for himself, with, as like I said, second most leading scorer in the league, but also for others with his driving and kicking. Shea's going to finish this season, bro, with having at least 50 30-point games. In the last 2 decades, bro, there's only been 2 other players to ever do that. There was Kobe Bryant in the 05-06 season and James Harden in that 2018-2019 season. And then on the defensive end, if we look at that end, he leads the league in steals, and he's been on a team that's been top 5 defensively all season long. He has absolutely no problem switching onto bigger players. He's not like it's not like when he gets switched onto a quicker player, he's a liability. It's not like when he gets switched onto a bigger player, he's a liability. He's tied for second in the league for most contested 3-pointers this season. He off and then I mean that's a defensive wise, but let's get a little bit more to offensive because that's where the bulk of his game is at. He currently right now leads the league in drives per game at 23.6, and almost all of those drives, Garrett, are either him getting a bucket, him getting an and one, or him driving and kicking to one of his 3-point shooters. And mind you, the Oklahoma City Thunder are top of the league in 3-point shooting percentage. They don't shoot many, but still, when they shoot them, they go in. So they shoot smart shots. He's also right now number 1 in the league for scoring frequency in the isolation. Bro, listen to this right here. 53% of the time that he is in isolations, he is getting a bucket. That is an absurd stat. He's also number 1 in the league for and 1 percentages on those ISOs. He's also been extremely clutch, right? In the clutch time, you gave him the Clutch Player of the Year award for the reasons you stated, right? In the clutch, 57% from the field in the clutch for a record of 22-11. But if all those stats were not enough for you, Garrett, here, check this out, because this right here has to sway you and everyone else out there, okay? So he averages the least amount of turnovers than Jokic and Luka. So Luka's averaging 4 turnovers per game. Jokic is averaging three turnovers per game, and Shea's averaging 2.2 turnovers per game. Check this out right here. This is the lowest amount of turnovers per game in NBA history for a player who's scoring at least 30 points per game or more. Michael Jordan is the only other player to do that. He did that in 91, 92, and 96 with 2.4 turnovers per game. And guess what? He won MVP all 3 of those seasons. So Shea should as well. But if you want to, get away from the stats a little bit, I know sometimes the stats is, overbearing. The fan base that I have for this show, they like we real hoopers. So sometimes we don't even look at the stats. We're looking at the eye test. If you want to look at the eye test, this man has legitimately no holes in his game. He can do literally everything on the court from everywhere on the court, and he's also got unlimited counters. Like if you want him on the fast break, he can do that. You want him to stop and pop, he can do that. He can step back and hit a 3. He's still a mid-range assassin. He can operate out of the post. And in my opinion, bro, he's also had the biggest impact on his team compared to Luka and Jokic. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, this might sound crazy, but they would be a play-in team without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're 2-5 without Shai right now. Jokic, the Nuggets are 5-8 without Jokic. The Mavs are 4-7 without Luka. And the biggest thing of all, bro, and this is where my spiel stops. I know this is kind of long, but the biggest thing of all, bro, is that he has been the leader and the best player on the team that's just number 1 in the West right now. He's kept them up there, exceeded expectations. And honestly, bro, he's just my guy. And he has the best Instagram captions. So he, without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion, is the MVP. But I do not think that the NBA will give it to him. Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like I said, Shea for me, it's so tough because like I will say right now, I think like as a player, Luka is a better player than Shea. But maybe on this year's MVP ladder, like I could definitely see Shea being above Luka, especially because their team is better. But it's when it comes to the MVP of Jokic, like for me, it's like not only that, like maybe the games that he's had to play with like a bunch of like really new players or players that weren't a part of this core last year, but like this is a guy who's ranked 5th in points on the year. He's 3rd in rebounds on the year. He's 2nd in assists on the year, and he's 1st in plus minus on the year. He's the only player in the league that's top 5 in all those categories. And like the rarity of that is pretty insane because obviously, like, I mean, I'm a firm believer, even like my guy behind me, D Rose, right? I'm one to say he definitely deserved his MVP because, I mean, they were the best record in the league and he was the only player top 10 in the league in points and assists. Only player. We got a guy who's top 5 in points, rebounds, assists, and he's 1st in plus minus in the whole league as well. And his true shooting percentage this is another one to add to you. His true shooting percentage in the clutch this year would rank 6 all time among all seasons ever. And do you know who's above him? Are players like Rudy Gobert, Daniel Gafford, Mitchell Robinson, Tyson Chandler, and Artis Gilmore. 5 players who, maybe Artis Gilmore a little bit outside just the basket, but a lot of those guys were just dish and dunk, a lot of the time. So we got a guy who's a 3-level scorer, scoring at efficiency, something we haven't ever seen before, and what he's doing with his team consistently throughout the whole year. I mean, like, I think the simplest way that it should be Jokic is the fact we're even having this conversation. It's like Jokic is 1-2 already. And part of the reason I think there is a conversation is because he has 1-2. And it's like,
Nah, bro. You got to give credit to Shea, bro.
but
The
no, no,
stats
no.
I just gave you and all that, and just the
Right.
eye test. There's no way you can like this. This has nothing to do with voter fatigue. Shea has a legit
Mm,
argument. This has
it
nothing to do with voter
it
fatigue, bro.
does to a degree because I did see last year
That's crazy.
when everyone did not want Jokic to win MVP. Even
Okay.
if Joel Embiid was a valid candidate and a valid winner, like people did not want Jokic to win MVP last year.
But we're not talking last year. We're talking right now.
Yeah,
Joel Embiid is not doing what Shea's doing. Brother, year ago, Michael Jordan, he won the MVP in 91, 92, 96 with averaging 2.4 turnovers per game, over 30 plus points per game. Shea's averaging less turnovers than them and more points in
yeah.
all of those seasons. How is he? You know what I'm saying? So I hear you, bro, but I cannot let that slide. There's no way. At least it's for me. For me, if you want to talk about casuals out there, maybe they're getting tired of the fatigue. But like, there's just no way that you're gonna tell me that the only reason we're having this conversation is because we're getting voter fatigue on
Well,
Jokic.
no. My point was that the fact that we are having the conversation right now, it's like if Jokic had not won an MVP, I think it would be maybe more balanced. Like there is to a degree, to some extent, like a little bit of sway because of that. Now, I'm not saying like that should sway anyone, and anyone who is swayed by that, I feel like you're kind of not picking the right way, at least.
Mhm.
But and you even brought up like Michael Jordan and stuff like that. But to be fair, like in Michael Jordan's day, of course it's a different era, and I don't think anybody in this era would put up the same numbers they did now in the 80s. But if there was someone in the 80s putting up 27 points, 12 and a half rebounds, and 9 assists a game, especially at the center, and he was top 5 in all those categories, I don't know if Michael Jordan would be winning MVP, and that's the GOAT. So like, I mean, you know what I mean? So
I hear you, but you can make that literally the exact same argument for Shea and just say that he's putting up the similar numbers of Michael Jordan if you put him in that day and age, except averaging just less turnovers and
but I
still
don't know
top
if
of the
he
league.
my thing is I don't know if he would because it's a much slower game as well back then. So if Jokic and
But
Shea
he
as
plays at
well.
his pace. You can't speed Shea up. You can't speed or slow Shea up. If he wants to play slow, he's going to play slow. If he wants to play fast, he'll play
Well,
fast.
I mean, and it's so hard because they're different eras, but I'm saying like the general pace of the league back then was a lot slower than it is today. So
Yeah.
that means less possessions are going to happen naturally. So the stats, like even if Jokic is averaging 27, 12, and 9, like I don't know exactly what it would be, but I'm sure to some degree it would be a little bit lower than it is
Mhm.
right now. And that's not a bad thing, but I think like that's kind of like what you have to base it on. So considering like Shea maybe is in a conversation with Michael Jordan when he won MVP, similar stats and everything like that. But it's like you also have to account that if he was in the 80s, it probably would be different stats as well. The efficiency is, of course, there. Of course, they're playing a different way too, because it's like the 3 point line is so much more prevalent. They didn't shoot the threes as much back then. So it's like you could even say the same argument, like someone back then to now, you know what I mean? But like, I guess we're not going to get into that today. But what I am saying though is that like I just think Jokic as a whole does more. I mean, like the discrepancy in points is about like a little over 3 points, but he's also averaging like 5 more rebounds, and it's like you would or 7 more rebounds, and you would think that because he's a big, but he's also averaging more assists. He's also up there, like I said, leading the league in plus minus. Like it's one thing if you're like just I feel like if like the plus minus leader was like a random Celtics player, then it wouldn't feel the same way because it's like, well, they're not doing the most, but Jokic is doing the most on his team, and he's up there, and they're not even the best record in the league.
Look,
So,
honestly, I think we could this my StreamYard would like kick me out. We could keep going all day for as far as like my points for Shea, your points for Jokic. The last thing I do want to touch on is 'cause I know you talked about like putting Jokic like in that 80s era. The spacing was different. So he would not get all these little backdoor cuts that he gets because the spacing on the floor is absolutely different. But look, I think regardless, like Shea or Jokic is an absolute great pick. I feel terrible for leaving my dog Luca out because, man, that's my dog. But I just think that he's not beating out Shea and or Jokic. So I mean, that's what my top two comes to. But like I said, though, I do believe that at the end of the day, like who is gonna win is gonna be Jokic. Not my pick, but that's who I think the NBA is gonna pick. And I wish I would Adam Silver. Come on, dog. Hey, give me a MVP ballot. Let me get a pick in there. Come on, Adam Silver. But
The only other thing
talk
I
to me.
will say, and I guess it gives Luca some props, but also like I know like with the point of like the most 30-point games like in a season and stuff like that in a long time. Like to be fair, like Shea has 51 on the season and Luca has 50. So like I feel like at least if that argument was made in his favor, maybe compared to Jokic, but like just in general over the rest of the pack, I mean, because Luca's already right there too.
Do want to give some love to Luca, but how many of them 50-point games ended up in the L because they're not as successful as Oklahoma City Thunder.
Uh,
So do want to give some credit to Luca though. You know, think you froze. Think you froze.
oh,
Uh,
should I repeat what I
okay.
said?
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Just last thing I said was I do want to give some credit to Luca.
Mm. Yeah, I was just gonna. Yeah, and you said like how many of those resulted in L's or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I said, I was
Just
saying
say
like
it.
to be fair, to be fair, lately a lot of them have been W's. So I don't
True.
know.
True. But Shay's has been first half of the season, second half of the season, the whole thing. But
I mean, it would be interesting to see the record. I don't know that off the top of my head, but it would be interesting to see the record of like both of them.
absolutely, absolutely, man. Garrett, talk about a great show. Talk about a great show, bro. I enjoy this with you. I enjoy when I have like real basketball fanatics on here and they can just talk hoops with me, hoopers like yourself. So my dog, bro. I appreciate you coming on here. Is there any last words that you want to say before we sign off here, and before you officially? Because when I hit end recording, Garrett, this all right here, this is on concrete, this is on wax. Okay, so these are your NBA awards. Okay, so is there anything else you want to say before we sign off, my brother?
I mean, with all in all fairness, there is one more day in the NBA season as we're doing this, so
Okay,
things could change. Things could change. If it did, like you'd probably have to score like 400 points or something to sway me. But I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. But again, I'm glad you could. Glad we could collab. Appreciate you having me on the show. It's always a blast. And yeah, I mean, it should be
yes, sir.
fun to see both of our teams in the play-in. Yay!
Yeah, man, yay. That's hilarious. But anyway, man, nah, Gary, I appreciate you for coming on, my brother. Like I said, I love just having good banter, good basketball talk with good peoples, man. So happy to have you on. And then for the family out there, man, make sure y'all go check out Garrett. He got a booming YouTube channel, a whole bunch of K subscribers. They over there messing with him. He do IRL content, he do NBA shows like how we do, man. So if you like just good knowledge, fun basksport talk, man, then check out my dog Gary. Look at him, look at him, look at him about to get some buckets right
Going
now.
off the moves. Ah.
Man, that is hilarious, man. But for the family out there, man, appreciate you guys checking us out. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Come check me out on Instagram, TikTok, man. It's at Clutch Talk Pod. And if you're a Lakers fan, get out my Lakers corner page where I talk all Lakers. But as always, you guys, appreciate you guys staying tuned. And for now, we out of here, y'all. Peace.